My 16F disabled boyfriend, 17M, blames me for his accident. A few months ago my boyfriend got into a car accident, coming to see me, causing him to be paralyzed from the waist down. When he first got into the accident and I went to visit him in the hospital, he was really quiet and it was like he was ignoring me. So I asked him what was up and he says it's all my fault and he wouldn't have even gotten into the accident if he wasn't coming to see me. Now he's back at school, he has been a burden and he's been an asshole to me purposely. He's in his wheelchair and he asks me to push him around because his arms are getting tired. He texts me every day after class demanding I take him to his next one. Soon as the bell rings I get a text from my boyfriend saying come take me to pre-calculus. He used to play football and he tries to make me feel bad that he can't anymore. We could walk by the football field and see the team practicing and he would say bummer I can't do that anymore and then he mumbles because of you. He is going through a massive trauma but I don't like the way he treats me and I feel like if I break up with him everyone would say she dumped the disabled guy. Should I wait a while then dump him? Too long didn't read. My boyfriend got into a car accident coming to see me and now he's paralyzed from the waist down. He blames me for the whole thing. You're not dumping his disability. You're dumping him for his rudeness to you. You do not owe him anything. He was driving, he got in the wreck. You're not dumping his disability. Yeah, I know but that's what people will assume. I don't want people thinking I'm the type of person who would break up with someone just because they have a disability. This is not your fault and he needs therapy to process the accident. You didn't dump the disabled guy. You dumped the asshole who treats you like shit. Yeah, his life is changed forever, but he made the decision to get in the car and drive it. He needs therapy to come to terms with things. No matter how hard it is for him, it's not okay to shit all over you. Wow. I hope this is fake. His accident isn't your fault. That he is blaming you is terrible but he's dealing with something no one wants to go through. I can't begin to think what he is going through. Have you talked to his parents? You're both kids so you won't end up married or anything, but you need to talk to his parents. You need to tell them what's happening because everyone wants to help your BF. You have to let them know how he is making you feel and how you obviously don't want to be a bad person towards him. His parents should be moving him to a new school. He needs severe daily therapy both mentally and physically. I'm so sorry you are going through this. Good luck. Sadly this isn't uncommon. When my brother was born and had a stroke at 3 days old which left him with cerebral palsy, I was blamed because I had been the one holding him when it happened. To this day, my brother blames me for being stupid and not loving him enough to tell someone. None of us knew it was stroke until he was 6 and had an MRI. The signs of a baby having a stroke are vastly different to an adult's, and he was born in 2009. That time, no one even knew or believed babies could have strokes. In the same way I could do nothing and have had to try and cut myself out of my immediate family's life. Op couldn't have done anything to prevent her BF's accident. It's not stop the blaming though. This isn't your fault. This isn't your fault. This isn't your fault. Please remember that. Your boyfriend is going through a major life change and definitely need to talk to a professional to deal with his emotions. If you can't handle it, it's totally okay to break up with him. It's not fair for him to punish you like this, but he's also going through a lot. But do not feel guilty for dumping him if you don't like the way you are being treated. It's not your fault he's treating you this way. Do not stay in a relationship like this out of guilt. How would you feel if your significant other made constant remarks and asked you to change your body or pubic hair, or requested certain things when it concerns to sexual activities? So I don't know if it's just a me thing, but my boyfriend, 23 meters, and I, 18F, haven't had sex. He knows I'm a virgin, and he wants us to get intimate. We've been dating since late December if it helps. But to get to that point he started telling me about his likes and dislikes, and his preferences and whatnot. Well, it was good we had a talk about that so I guess we'd know, but I feel like I exhausted myself trying to explain to him that whenever I shave my skin turns red and itchy, which he's seen and knows about. He even went as far as to compare me to other girls, saying that the girls his age he knew had smooth and silky skin. I also have dry skin that I moisturize and try to take care of. I can't pay to see a dermatologist yet because I have low funds while in college, so I'm not sure how to try to fix things with him. One of his things that he wanted me to try was to shave my body hair and pubic hair, which the other I keep trimmed so it's not like my pubic area is completely bushy. We haven't even seen each other naked, so I felt like that was something I wasn't comfortable with, considering the fact that I told him a few times that I didn't feel ready for sex. And then the next part was that he wanted me to try wearing lingerie, or having pigtails and scrunchies with stockings. While I get that he has his preferences, but since I've only been dating him for not even 2 whole months yet, I told him it was something I wasn't ready for. So I'm not sure how else to go about this, because I've already told him many times that I didn't feel ready to try it yet, and all he'd say is that if I didn't even try it I wouldn't know if I liked it or not. Edit: I started getting a lot of comments, so I wasn't able to respond to every single one. I have been considering breaking up with him, but because I always thought that every couple has their struggles or couple ups and downs, that this was one of those things that we could work on. But now I've also seen more perspectives and insights that I didn't really think about. As for his kinks or preferences part, he's very into anime and mentioned in the past the pigtails and stockings things, which has to do with a character from one of the shows he watches, was something he wanted me to try, but I didn't. Anyways, I really do appreciate all the support and help I've gotten here. This was my first relationship, so this is all new to me. But I now get that I can't keep trying to tell him how I feel when he doesn't want to understand me or change things. I definitely want to be in a happy relationship and have my first time with someone who loves and cares about me, so thank you everyone who's been helpful and even sending PMS to help or some advice. Looks like I'll be single and happy again. Everyone has their preference, yes, but they say something about the person. He seeks out a partner, legal but still a teen, and pressures for things knowing she's a virgin 2 months in, which is not long no matter what he says. He tries to get his ways by knocking the girl's confidence down by comparing her to other better looking girls. And he takes full power of THR sexual relationship before it started. You haven't had sex yet, you don't know what you like or want, but he already has plans, meaning, you will be molded into his desire object and you won't get to explore your own sexuality, and that can be damaging. Also, he seeks out a young partner and has fantasies that guys have that are called young girl fetish. Think this man has chosen you to act out his fantasy, and you should have your first time with someone else that will see you as a person and not a sex object. Oh God, I never really saw it like that. I didn't want to be awful for judging or shaming people's kinks, because I know people have their own thing, but I felt like what my boyfriend wanted is a bit out of my comfort zone for me. Red flags everywhere. He's treating you like some customizable fuck toy than a girlfriend. For your safety, please leave. Who knows what he's going to do when he realizes he's not going to get what he wants. I doubt you'd want to stick around to find out. I didn't want to think of it that way, but it felt like he wasn't even considering my feelings after we kept talking about it. I thought about breaking up and going without contact from him within the past few weeks, but he would promise that things would get better or change. Dude, you've been dating for like 2 months and he's already acting like this. You got a dip. That is not a good man. Also, the age gap seemed a bit odd. And then I read he wanted you to wear pigtails and stockings, something a young girl would wear. He sounds predatory too. Girl to girl here. I'm 19 and I understand completely what you're going through. Sis, you deserve a guy who will understand you and love you regardless of whether you have hair on you in certain places or not. You deserve to be heard and respected. The age gap and his certain physical requests for you are concerning and resemble that of a child, which is a huge red flag. Even comparing you to other girls is not okay and is disrespectful, and you don't deserve that. Even more so, Because you're a virgin, you should do it with someone who's going to respect you and what you're comfortable doing. Because that's what you deserve. Think you should talk to him about this post, and if he refuses to respect what you want, leave him. Or thanks girl, that was sweet to read and you're right, I wish he could understand how I feel about things. After a few convos with him that always end with him frustrated or disappointed because I always stood by my I'm not ready for this, it was hard trying to get through to him so he could understand me. My 42F husband, 45M, has a favorite child and it has destroyed our family. This is a long read. If you can get through it, please give any advice you can. I want to start by saying my husband is a good man. He provides a very comfortable life for me and our children. He has never been abusive or manipulative. He's never kept secrets or cheated. But he has one huge flaw. He has a favorite child. We have 3 teenage sons. They are Mason, 18, Kyle, 15, and Sean, 13. Our youngest son Sean is my husband's favorite. He knows this, I know this, and what really kills me is that our children know it. It wasn't always like this. He used to be equally loving to all of our boys. But when Sean was 5 years old, he got pneumonia and was dangerously close to death. It was obviously an extremely tough time for my husband and I. And through the entire hospital stay, Sean always wanted his dad above anyone else. It bonded them. Ever since then, my husband has always favored and spoiled Sean to the detriment of his relationships with Mason and Kyle. The 2 older boys noticed as they got older and were understandably hurt that their father always favored Sean. I had several conversations with my husband throughout the years about how he needs to realize he has 3 sons, not just one. He always listened and would make an effort to be more involved with Mason and Kyle, but it never lasted. He'd always go back to being super dad to Sean. This all came to a head today when Kyle's school had an awards ceremony that Kyle would be presented an award at. This is of course a virtual event as COVID is still an issue and the boys are doing online distance learning. Essentially the event was just a large group video call where the kids would be recognized for their academic achievements, and there was a raffle for several prizes. Kyle was excited because one of the prizes was a game system he wanted. Parents were invited to join in on their own computer to get an extra entry for raffle prizes on behalf of their children. I wasn't going to be able to make it as I had work, but I told my husband to just drop in and watch them read Kyle's name and stick around so Kyle could have just a slightly better chance at getting the prize he wanted. Again, this was a virtual event. All he had to do was go to the website and sit there for less than half an hour. School events like this, even pre-COVID, were always more my thing. My husband almost never went to these things as he was usually working, but of course there was a higher chance of him showing up for one of Sean's events. But he's working mostly from home and he wasn't even going to be on the clock at the time of this event. He said he'd do it. On the day of the event I reminded him before I left for work to make sure he showed up. I sent him the invite link again while I was at work just to be sure he had it, and he assured me he'd be there. Well, the event came and went. Kyle was in his room on his own laptop for the event and my husband never joined the group call. I was busy at work so I couldn't message him back until almost an hour after the event ended. I asked how it went. He said he was trying to join but the link didn't work. I asked what did he mean he was trying to join now when the event was an hour ago. He replied, "Oh, I thought you said it was now, I saw red." He missed the event because he got the time wrong. After I told him several times what time and exactly how to join, all he had to do was click the link at the right time. I was furious, but I wanted to wait until I got home to talk to him. So I get home and see our oldest son Mason's car in our driveway. He does not live with us anymore, he is in college and has his own apartment. I walk inside and Sean is in the living room looking upset. I ask him what's wrong and he says the other boys are fighting with dad. I asked what happened and he said he doesn't know, just that Kyle got really mad and called Mason when he told Kyle that he and my husband went to get frozen yogurt earlier. I asked what time they went and he tells me it was 10 minutes before Kyle's event. He missed the event because he chose to take Sean to get frozen yogurt. I learned later that Sean was begging him and my husband, as usual, caved and took him. At that moment Mason, Kyle, and my husband all come down the stairs. They're yelling and Mason has a duffel bag with Kyle's things. I asked what is happening and Mason says he's taking Kyle with him to stay at his apartment for a while. I told him Kyle can stay the night but he can't just move in with him. My husband said that Kyle is not leaving and he needs to talk to him privately. But Mason blew up on him. He said everyone knows Sean is his favorite and he couldn't tell Sean to wait 30 minutes before taking him to get yogurt. I told Mason I understood his anger but that we all needed to sit down and talk. Kyle joins in and says that he's tired of his dad always choosing Sean over the two of them and he wants to stay with Mason. My husband was apologizing and saying he doesn't choose Sean over them, he just made a mistake. Mason challenges my husband saying you always just make mistakes that leave me and Kyle on the back burner and told him to try to remember the last time he did something with either he or Kyle alone. My husband listed 2 events. Mason reminded him Sean tagged along for both. My husband said they're family and of course he's allowed to go with. Kyle shouted back that my husband has taken out-of-town trips with just he and Sean 3 times in the last year and a half. And he was right. Sean got visibly upset at this point. Mason said he was sorry and that this wasn't about anything he did wrong. That it was their dad's fault, not his. Sean went upstairs to his room. My husband started after him and Mason said, "See, you've got 3 upset sons and you still run off to cuddle Sean." My husband said that's not true, he's just more sensitive than the other boys. Mason told him he wants so badly for Sean to be his only son that he can have his wish. He said not to call or text him or Kyle anymore and that they don't have a dad anymore. Kyle added, "You already act like we don't exist anyway." My husband's face dropped. The way he was neglecting our 2 older boys finally hit him. I was a sobbing mess. I could see the hurt in both my sons' eyes. Told them to stay so we could talk and find a solution. Kyle begged me to just let him leave, saying he didn't want to be in the house anymore. Mason hugged me and assured me he'd make sure Kyle got his schoolwork done and he'd call me tomorrow. Let them go. As much as I want Kyle here, I know he needs time away from my husband. My husband went to the kitchen and cried. He's never been an emotional man, but the reality of our 2 older boys wanting to go no contact with him finally knocked some sense into him. I wanted to yell and scream at him. Told him for years that he needed to stop favoring one child. All he had to do was show up one goddamn time for Kyle. I'm so angry. Instead I told my husband that I love him and I know he's hurt, so I'm not going to yell at him. But I told him I love my children more and that if he didn't fix things with his boys and start treating them equally from this moment forward, I would be divorcing him. He just said I don't want to lose my family. He started to get up saying he should make sure Sean was okay. I told him I would check on Sean and for once he needed to think of his other sons. I admit I was passive aggressive, but my blood was boiling and I was trying my best not to tear my husband down any more than my son's parting words had. I spent the next hour consoling Sean and reassuring him that his brothers don't hate him and that their issue is with my husband, not him. He said they won't text him back and I said he needs to give them time. I'm emotionally exhausted. I don't know what to do. My husband is sleeping in the guest room tonight. We've never not slept in the same bed unless one of us is out of town for one reason or another. Is it worth divorcing my husband over if he doesn't fix it? This is the only big issue we've ever had in our marriage, but he broke my children's hearts and even if we do stay together, I don't know if I can ever forgive him for that. I feel like a failure as a mother for not being more assertive with my husband and not interfering throughout all these years. I also feel like it may be too late for him to make things right at this point. What do I do? What can I do?